Welcome, friends of the IACL blog. I am Erika Arban, speaking to you from Melbourne, Australia. I am the co-editor of the blog along with Dinesha Samararatne. The IACL blog is an online platform committed to promoting scholarship, debate, and discussion on constitutional law. And today, for our first ever blog interview, we have the pleasure of presenting the book Time, Law, and Change, an Interdisciplinary Study, edited by Sofia Ranchordas Yaniv Roznai and recently published by Hart. Sofia and Yaniv are joining me from the Netherlands and Israel, respectively, and they will speak to us about their book in a moment. Sofia is the chair of European and Comparative Public Law and Rosalind Franklin Fellow at the University of Groningen. Yaniv is associate professor at the Ratzinger School of Law Interdisciplinary Center, Herzliya. Welcome, Sofia and Yaniv, and congratulations on this book. To start us off, Time, Law, and Change, an Interdisciplinary Study. This is an intriguing title. Can you tell us a little bit more about the book?
Well, the book has indeed a very original title, we think. And I mean, we're delighted to be here to actually have the chance to talk about it. So here's the book, the real thing. The book has is about the influence, the impact that time has on different areas of law. So it's an interdisciplinary analysis of how time, which is a very overlooked phenomenon, can change the way in which legislators draft the laws, the way in which courts assess it and review it, but also the way in which law and technology interact. So that's why we really wanted time to be on the title, to make sure that people would see that, well, this book is really about the general impacts that time in general, like, so for example, time, like parts of the day, for example, like nights, or just, like the fact that you don't have enough time to write a law, so you have, because you're under exceptional circumstances like the ones we are living right now. So it's basically about a broad perspective of how time just changes our perspective of law and how lawyers should react to it.
Well, that's very interesting. And what inspired you to take up this project?
Well, thank you, Erika, and it's a pleasure to be here. Well, actually, if you're familiar with some of the earlier work of Sofia and of my own, we always think about time, or time is somehow involved in our projects. So for Sofia, the idea of temporary legislation, sunset clauses, or sunrise clauses, and for me, the idea of eternity and entrenchment. So we've always been fascinated about time. And that's why I think 4 years ago, when we started corresponding about doing a mutual project, the first thing that came to our mind is time and law. And then we started rolling this idea and what kind of different aspects would be of interest. We then held a very nice international conference at IDC. And following the success of that conference, we saw that there was a huge interest. We said, so we have to go with this book project. And that's how we got to this idea, basically.
Well, it's very interesting to see how it relates to your past work. Was there a particular work, or more than one, that was influential on you?
Yeah, actually there is a book which I don't own, but it's called Le Temps du Droit. It's a book by François Oost, a Belgian professor, now retired at Université Saint-Louis. And he wrote Le Temps du Droit already many years ago. And it was a very influential book in the French-speaking world. And the book is actually a theoretical reflection of how time should be more often taken into account when thinking about law. And I read that book when I was doing a PhD, and I thought, well, this is a very interesting theoretical book, but we should really apply it to different fields of study. And that's actually the book that really inspired us. I discussed it with Yaniv, and it was, yeah, the book is really interesting. And that was actually the book that actually also mentioned at the very beginning of the book in the introduction, and that really inspired us to actually modernize this perspective and also apply it to different fields of law, actually. So technology is not mentioned, for example, in the book by François Oost, because it was written many years ago. But now we try to do it by including these new perspectives.
That's interesting. What challenges did you face in pulling together this project?
Well, I think we had two main challenges that are actually quite common to many edited collections. So the idea of time and law, or time, law, and change, is a very broad one. And I think one of the main challenges was, on the one hand, to make it coherent enough, but then to have some diverse themes in it. So I think this was one major challenge. And eventually we've decided to make a nice division to sub-themes. So we have the theory and history, we have legislators, we have courts, and we have technology. And I think this allowed us somehow to overcome the first challenge. And the second one was to find the most suitable authors for each chapter. And I'm so proud that we managed to get this really all-star team to participate in this book project. We're honored and very happy to have all these wonderful scholars joining us in this adventure.
Yeah, I saw the list of contributors, and I have to say it's quite impressive. What do you hope to see as the book's contribution to the academic discourse, or to constitutional law, public law more in general?
Well, I think one of the main things that we want to achieve with this book is to make sure that public law is also studied from a more interdisciplinary perspective. This was a challenge, and this was one of the comments that we received from the publisher right from the beginning. Be careful with an interdisciplinary study of public law. It will be challenging. We're not sure whether there is a market for it, but we are willing to believe in it. And we're very grateful to Hart for having deposited so much trust in us. But I think our book is not only a book that aims to incentivize more studies on time. It's basically like a gateway to more research on interdisciplinary approaches to public law. So that's one of the main contributions we hope to have delivered. And the second one is that I think it's important to look at the principles of law from a more dynamic perspective. So we show that it is possible to actually adopt temporary legislation, and even experimental legislation, and still be within the borders of law, of constitutional law. And so in that sense, we wish to actually promote a more dynamic perspective of public law. And also the reference to technology, I think, is important, because up until now, most scholars that look at technology, they do so from a more privacy perspective. And I think it's important to show that you can also analyze technology from a public law perspective. And we have seen that at different conferences, this is growing, and we really hope that our book contributes to its promotion.
Well, I do think that this is an important contribution, and I look forward to reading it. If anyone watching is interested in this publication, please check out the new titles and discount section on our website for more details on a 20% discount Hart Publishing is offering to the readers of the IACL blog. Before we go, Sofia and Yaniv, I have one last question. What is next for each of you?
Well, I'm currently working on a project on regulation. I can't disclose all the details, but trying to revise a book together with two established scholars on regulation that could be used as a handbook. So there's something very exciting that I'm working on, and I hope that it will come out in a couple of years. And I'm working on a project on digital exclusion, and especially on how digital exclusion, so for example, people that don't have access to technology, imagine, for example, digital government services, because they don't have enough literacy, they don't have digital skills, because they don't have stable internet connection like we do. And I'm trying to see how digital exclusion can have an impact on the exercise of our fundamental rights. So these are the two main projects I'm working on.
And you, Yaniv?
Well, first, I'm very happy. I just finished a big project on constitutional revolution, a book with Gary Jacobson that was just published yesterday, actually. So that was one big thing that is now off the table. And I'm starting to work on two further big book projects. One with Pietro Faraguna on courts as guardians of legislators, how courts protect parliament within the interbranches conflict, for example, vis-a-vis the executive. So that's one project. And the second one, which I tentatively call With the Limited People, questions whether the original constituent power of the people, when they are in a new constitution making moment, whether they are limited in any capacity. So these are two projects that I'm really excited about.
Well, that's great. So thank you very much, Sofia and Yaniv. It has been really a pleasure speaking to you, and I wish you all the best. And thank you also to all of you for joining us today. If you recently published a book on constitutional law and would like to be featured in a future author's interview, you can contact us at iacl.blogeditor@gmail.com. For regular updates on our posts, follow us on Twitter or subscribe to our mailing list. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.